three great conquests of Islam: Jerusalem, Constantinople, and Spain. In today's video, you'll learn about three amazing battles in Islamic history. How Salahuddin Ayyubi conquered Jerusalem, how Sultan Muhammad Fateh took Constantinople, and how Tariq ibn Ziyad conquered Spain. These three battles are among the most famous in Islamic history and are still talked about today. So let's get started. Spain, which was once ruled by Muslims, today has only about 5% Muslim population. People live here, and it has the highest population of Christians. But how did Spain go from being a Muslim country to a Christian one? Let's find out. In the late 7th century, when the Umayyad Caliphate was at its peak and expanding rapidly, having already taken over North Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia, Muslims set their sights on the Iberian Peninsula, what we now call Spain. At that time, Spain was ruled by the Visigothic kingdom, which had been in power since the 5th century. But now, their kingdom had become pretty weak because after King Witiza died, a civil war broke out among them in the race to grab power. This was a golden opportunity for the Muslims. At that time, Musa bin Nusayr, the governor of Banu Umayyah in North Africa, sent an army of 7,000 to conquer Spain, led by General Tariq ibn Ziyad. Tariq reached Gibraltar with his troops by boat. But when the Muslims got there, they saw that King Roderick had already come to face them with an army of 40,000, while the Muslims were only 7,000 strong. Seeing this, Tariq realized that the Muslims' morale had dropped. On one side was a huge army led by Roderick, and on the other side was the sea. At this moment, Tariq bin Ziyad ordered his troops to burn all the boats, so that no Muslim could retreat from the battle. Then the fight began, and the Muslims fought bravely and won the battle. After this victory, Tariq's army went on to conquer other cities within a year. Seeing this, Musa bin Nusrat came with his army to support Tariq's forces. Together they conquered all of Spain. But after that, years later, the Abbasids, led by a leader named Abu Muslim, stood up to confront Umayyah. They wanted to end the cruel rule of Banu Umayyah and revive Islam. The Abbasids were descendants of Hazrat Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They started secret operations in Khorasan and used scholars and leaders of that time to spread their message among the people. Gradually, even the Shia Muslims of that era joined them. The Abbasids began secretly preparing their army, and when Marwan found out about this, he started training his army in Syria and later set out to confront the Abbasid forces. The two armies met near the Zab River. Marwan's army was much larger, while the Abbasid army was smaller but full of spirit because they wanted to completely wipe out the Banu Umayyad. Abu Muslim kept boosting their morale. Then the battle began, and the Abbasids fought bravely and won. After that, Marwan fled the battle and escaped to Egypt, but the Abbasids caught and killed him. Then they headed towards Dama. At that time, those who left became part of Banu Umayyah, and the graves of those who had oppressed the Al-Bayt were also dug up, just like Muawiyah and Yazid. But nothing was found in their graves except bones. Seeing this, Abdul Rahman, who was a ruler of Banu Umayyah in the east, fled towards Spain because Spain wasn't fully under Muslim control back then. When Abdul Rahman arrived there, he declared himself the Caliph of Spain. That's how the Umayyad Caliphate became limited to just Spain. Abdul Rahman also changed the name of Spain to Al-Andalus. As soon as Spain came under Abdul Rahman's rule, it started to progress. At that time, people from all over the world began coming to the city of Córdoba in Spain to gain knowledge, and many great scientists emerged from there. During this period, research started in science, algebra, math, and physics. But after a few years, the Muslims in Córdoba split into factions because, as usual, they started fighting among themselves for power. Meanwhile, Christians in northern Spain gained strength and began expanding across Spain. Seeing this, the Muslims fought a war against them. But after this war, the Muslims started losing in Spain because they lost this battle, and after that, Muslims became very weak in Spain. Eventually, Muslim rule in Spain came to an end. As soon as Muslim rule ended, the Christians declared that Muslims and Jews had to either accept Christianity or be killed. Seeing this, most Muslims left Islam and accepted Christianity, and that's how Muslim rule in Spain ended. In 1137, a boy named Yusuf bin Ayyub was born in Iraq, whom we today know as Salahuddin Ayyubi, and his father's name was Najmuddin Ayyub, who was a military leader of the Zengid dynasty at that time. Salahuddin spent his childhood in Baalbek and Damascus, where he completed his studies, gaining knowledge in poetry, philosophy, and religion. From a young age, Salahuddin was greatly inspired by his uncle, Nuruddin Zangi, who was the ruler of Syria back then and was fighting against the Crusaders. Nuruddin Zangi aimed to unite the entire Muslim community. At that time, the Fatimid Caliphate was ruling Egypt, and they were Shia Muslims, having been in power since the 10th century. They had been ruling for a long time, but recently their control was weakening due to some internal issues. Meanwhile, the Crusaders were gaining control over states like Palestine and Syria. At the same time, in Syria, the Zengid dynasty, which was under Nur ad-Din Zengi, was busy strengthening Egypt and uniting the Muslims. Nur ad-Din wanted to bring Egypt under his control because Egypt was very rich and strategically important, a key place to fight against the Crusaders. In 1160, Salah ad-Din, Uncle Asaduddin Sharko, who was one of Nuruddin Jangi's generals, was sent to Egypt with an army because at that time, the power of Egypt's chief minister Shawar was in danger. His enemies wanted to get rid of him, so Shawar asked Nuruddin for help. After that, Nuruddin sent Sharko with an army to Egypt to support Shawar and to strengthen the impact of the Gen state there. At that time, Salahuddin was about 20 years old, so he joined this army with his uncle Sharko and became the commander of this force. This is the story of Salahuddin Ayyubi's life. Their first battle was where they learned politics. As soon as Saladin's army entered Egypt, they faced the city of Deir Hum, which was holding the city for Bilbay. Saladin's forces laid siege to the city and kept it surrounded for 3 months. During this time, the Crusaders also arrived to help Lagom, led by Amalric. So, Saladin's army was up against 2 threats, one defending Ragman and the other the Crusaders who came for Ragman. Despite all this, Salahuddin Ayyubi's army managed to enter the city and took control of the entire place. He took over and killed Rag. After that, Shawar became the vizier again. But Saladin's uncle Shirkuh, seeing Shawar's success, started feeling his power was threatened. He thought Shirkuh might take over his power, so he tricked Shirkuh and decided to join the Crusaders. He made an alliance with Amal, the king of Jerusalem, who had been his enemy before. Finally, in 1160, Shawar and Shirkuh's situation got worse because Shawar turned against them after seeing the growing influence of the Zangid dynasty in Egypt. Seeing this, Shirkuh, after finishing, it was decided to bring Egypt under Nuruddin's control, which led to a battle between the two. In this battle, Shirak divided his army into 3 parts and took command of the middle section himself, while Salahuddin Ayyubi led one of the side sections. The battle took place at Haja. Although Shirak's forces were much smaller in number, they won the battle thanks to their war tactics. Salahuddin Ayyubi also fought bravely with his army. After this battle, Salahuddin Ayyubi gained the experience of fighting in war. Shirkuh already had a lot of experience, and despite Saladin's victory, he couldn't keep control over Egypt. So, a year later, Shirkuh attacked Egypt again. By that time, the Crusaders were in control of Egypt. When Nuruddin Jangi saw this, he realized he had to bring Egypt under his control. After that, Nuruddin Jangi sent a big army. And Shirkuh reached Cairo, the capital of Egypt, with his forces. Once there, they defeated the Crusaders in battle. When Shawar saw this, he knew Shirkuh was going to take over Egypt, Then they surrendered, but Shirkuh didn't believe it because Shawar had betrayed them last time, which had led to his execution. A little while later, Shirkuh suddenly died, and after that, Salahuddin Ayyubi was made the vizier. Salahuddin Ayyubi served as vizier for 2 years, during which he strengthened his authority. He improved his relations with the Egyptian army and also strengthened ties with the Fatimid Caliphate. Outwardly, Salahuddin was aligned with the Fatimid Caliph, but secretly he was promoting the Sunni sect, while the Fatimids, the Caliphate, was a Shia dynasty. Salahuddin Ayyubi removed the Shia scholars loyal to it from Cairo and replaced them with Sunni scholars. In this way, Salahuddin started eliminating the Shia scholars, which weakened the Fatimid Caliphate. At the same time, to strengthen his position, he formed an army with his Kurdish supporters from Syria. Salahuddin was just waiting for the right moment to make his final move. That's why he maintained relations with the Fatimid Caliphate only for show. Then, the Fatimid Caliph Al-Adid fell ill, which was significant for Salahuddin. It was a big opportunity for Saladin. Saladin had the support of the Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad. Back then, Baghdad was the center of the Sunni sect. Then Saladin made his final move when Fatimid Caliph Al-Hadid was on his deathbed. During this time, Saladin mentioned the Caliph's name in the Friday sermon, which officially ended the Fatimid Caliphate. The Fatimid Caliph Al-Adid couldn't do anything against Saladin. Besides, Saladin had planned everything carefully. He had already taken control over the entire Egyptian army and politics. He removed the officials and replaced them with his own people, effectively ending the Fatimid Caliphate that had ruled for the past 200 years. This made Salahuddin Ayyubi's position even stronger. After that, he started promoting Sunni Islam in Egypt, moving away from Shia Islam. 3 years later, Nuruddin Zangi died, giving Salahuddin Ayyubi the freedom to make decisions on his own. After Nuruddin's death, his son Ismail became his successor, which turned out to be a turning point for Salahuddin Ayyubi. After Nuruddin's death, Syria. The region had split into pieces because everyone wanted to gain power. Salahuddin, who had become the powerful ruler of Egypt, started calling himself the successor of Nuruddin Jangi. Because of this, in 1174, Salahuddin Ayyubi reached Damascus to bring the city under his control. Salahuddin Ayyubi made deals with Damascus and other Syrian cities to bring them under his rule. Many people saw Salahuddin Ayyubi's growing power and wanted to join forces with him, but his biggest challenge was capturing the city of Aleppo, as it was a major center at that time. This was a really important city. Saladin first tried to bring it under his control through negotiations. He was really skilled at negotiating, but that didn't work out. So Saladin went to Aleppo with his army and laid siege to the city. He had a powerful army, but attacking this city wasn't easy because its defenses were really strong. Saladin kept the city under siege for many days, hoping the people would surrender. During this time, he also tried negotiating again with Ismail. He was told to deal with this so they could join forces to defeat the Crusaders. In 1184, Ismail realized he couldn't fight against Saladin, so he teamed up with him. This way, Saladin managed to capture the city of Aleppo, which was a big achievement. Seeing Saladin's growing power, the ruler of Mosul, Imamuddin Zangi, felt his own position was threatened, so he refused to acknowledge Saladin's authority. Under Saladin were Egypt, Damascus, and cities like Aleppo had arrived, but Mosul was still against it. Because of this, Salahuddin Ayyubi sent his army towards Mosul to attack their areas. But Mosul also had a strong army and the support of many Muslims who saw Salahuddin Ayyubi as a threat. Because of this, Salahuddin Ayyubi's forces couldn't succeed. A few years later, both realized that war would only bring bloodshed and nothing else. This was the time when the Crusaders were becoming a real threat to the Muslim world. So the two sides made a deal, which Salahuddin. It was another victory for Saladin. From the start, Saladin wanted to wipe out the Crusaders because Jerusalem was under their control back then, and they were Christians. Saladin wanted to unite the entire Muslim community so they could defeat the Crusaders and bring Jerusalem back under Muslim control. By then, Saladin had managed to bring almost the whole community together, and in 1187 he started preparing for war. Saladin began gathering troops from Egypt, Syria, and other regions, while the Crusaders had a lot more. They were overconfident, thinking they'd win easily. Saladin attacked the Crusaders' territory, and when their king Lusignan saw this, he decided to retreat and head to Tyre to face Saladin there. Many of his commanders advised against retreating, but he went ahead anyway. Saladin's army trapped them in the desert and cut off their water supply. Then Saladin's forces started shooting arrows at them and set fire to the surrounding grass, which confused the Crusaders. They were already exhausted and thirsty in the desert. By evening, the Crusader army was close to total defeat. Many of their men had been killed, and their king, Lusignan, along with other leaders, had been captured. Because of this, Saladin won the battle and treated the prisoners well. After this war, Salahuddin Ayyubi took control of the cities that were previously held by the Crusaders with his army. Then, in 1187, Saladin's forces laid siege to the city of Hira Shalam, which was protected by strong walls. There was an army led by a guy named Balian. Balian asked Salahuddin to let all the city's residents leave, and after that, he could take over the city if he wanted. Salahuddin agreed, and then the city was besieged. Salahuddin Ayyubi attacked the city walls, but they didn't break. After 2 weeks, Balian realized the walls wouldn't hold much longer, and that Salahuddin would kill them just like the Crusaders had killed Muslims and Jews when they captured Jerusalem. Saladin offered them a deal. Just lay down your weapons, we only want Jerusalem, and we won't kill anyone. After that, the Crusaders surrendered, and Saladin peacefully let them leave the city. After capturing Jerusalem, Saladin didn't destroy any Christian churches. And that's how Jerusalem, an important city for Muslims, came back under Muslim control. When this news reached Europe, it caused a huge uproar because Jerusalem had been under Christian control for the past 90 years. It used to be under my control, but now it was back under the Muslims, which was a huge embarrassment for the Christians. So, in October 1187, the Pope gave a fatwa saying that the loss of Jerusalem was a punishment for the sins of the Christians and urged the European rulers of that time to conquer Jerusalem again. Hearing this, several major rulers from Europe stepped up, like Richard, Philip, and Frederick, with Frederick being the most powerful among them. Frederick set out for Jerusalem with a large army, but in 1190, while crossing the Salef River, he drowned and died. When their leader died, the army fell apart, and many soldiers just went back home. After that, the other two rulers, Richard and Philip, gathered a big army and headed towards Jerusalem. On the way, they captured the city of Cyprus, which became an important base for the Crusaders. Then they reached the city of Acre, which the Crusaders had been laying siege to for the past 2 years. This city was under Muslim control and was very important for Jerusalem because it was the gateway to the city. There used to be a trade center, and when Salahuddin Ayyubi found out about it, he sent his army towards the city. His troops surrounded the Crusaders from all sides, while the Crusaders had already been laying siege to the city. This siege went on for 2 years, and neither side could capture the city. During these 2 years, both armies became very weak due to disease, hunger, and fighting, with many soldiers dying from illness. But now, Richard and Philip had arrived with their forces, which made the Crusaders even stronger. Now their The army broke down the walls of this city, after which the city surrendered and came under the control of the Crusaders. After that, the Crusaders demanded their prisoners and their cross back from Salahuddin Ayyubi, which he had taken before capturing Jerusalem. Salahuddin Ayyubi refused their terms, and in retaliation, the Crusaders killed 2,700 Muslims as a warning to him. After capturing the city of Acre, the Crusaders headed towards the city of Jaffa, which was close to Jerusalem, when Ayyubi found out about this, he sent his army to stop them. Saladin's army tried everything to hold back the Crusaders, but the Crusaders still reached a place called Arsuf in September 1191, which was near the city of Jaffa. When they got there, Saladin's army launched a full-force attack on the Crusaders' rear. Seeing this, the soldiers at the back asked Richard for full control of the army. Richard handed over command to them, and then the Crusaders attacked the Muslims, breaking their forces apart, and that's how the Muslims were defeated. When Saladin saw the Muslims in such a state, he called them back from the battle, which allowed the Crusaders to win that fight. After that, the Crusaders reached the city of Jaffa and captured it too. The Crusaders kept winning battle after battle and eventually reached Jerusalem. Richard must have realized that they were running low on supplies, and if they tried to capture Jerusalem, Saladin would cut off their supply lines, so he didn't attack. After several days, neither army was in a position to keep fighting, and then, in the meantime, an agreement was made that Jerusalem would remain under Muslim control, but Christians would also be free to come to Jerusalem. After this agreement, the Crusaders went back, so Jerusalem stayed under Muslim rule. But a year later, in 1193, Salahuddin Ayyubi died due to illness. That was the story of one of the greatest commanders in the world. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had said that one day you will conquer Constantinople, and its leader will be the best leader with the best army. After hearing this hadith, many companions of that time, many Muslims tried to conquer Constantinople, like Hazrat Abu Ayyub Ansari, may Allah be pleased with him, who, during the time of Uthman, laid siege to Constantinople to fulfill the Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, prediction. He kept the city under siege for many years, but couldn't succeed. In fact, he passed away during this siege, and his grave is still located in Istanbul today. Many Muslims attempted to capture Constantinople, but Allah had destined its conquest to a man named Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror. In March 1432, a boy was born in Edirne, which was the capital of the Ottoman Empire at that time. He was named Sultan Mehmet Fateh. Sultan Mehmet Fateh's father, Sultan Murad, was already the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. Because of this, Sultan Mehmet Fateh received a top-quality education from a young age, studying subjects like Islam, science, mathematics, astronomy, and geography. He also learned several different languages, including Turkish, Arabic, Persian, Greek, and Latin. Besides that, from childhood, he was trained in military strategy and leadership. Sultan Muhammad Fateh gained knowledge and military skills at a young age. Seeing this, his father, Sultan Murad, made him sultan at just 12 years old to test him. Meanwhile, the Christians started gathering an army to push the Ottoman Empire out of Europe. When Sultan Murad saw this, he took his army and moved close to Varna. A battle broke out between them, known as the Battle of Varna. During this battle, Sultan Muhammad Fateh was managing the throne, and Sultan Murad won the battle easily. But a few years later, in 1451, Sultan Murad died, and after that, Sultan Muhammad Fateh became the next Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. When Sultan Muhammad Fateh took the throne, he was only 19 years old, and now he had to prove that he was a capable ruler. Because of this, he focused all his energy on managing the Ottoman Empire. During this time, he came across a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about Constantinople. When Sultan Muhammad Fateh heard this hadith, he made a decision. He decided that from now on, his life's goal was to conquer Constantinople. Back then, Constantinople was the capital of the Roman Empire, located between Asia and Europe. Because of this, the city had access to both continents, but the whole city was protected by strong walls, and soldiers were posted on them. If anyone tried to climb the walls, hot oil would be poured on them, which is why no one had ever been able to capture the city. Sultan Muhammad Fateh knew that if he managed to conquer this city, the Ottoman Empire would become much stronger. So now, Sultan Muhammad Fateh started preparing to conquer Constantinople. There was a sea route called the Bosphorus in Constantinople, through which food and supplies came from the Black Sea. To cut off Constantinople's supply, Sultan Muhammad Fateh had a fort built on the European side of the Bosphorus. Besides that, he paid an engineer named Urban to make cannons, which took over 3 months to build. These cannons were so powerful that they could break through even the strongest walls. They were so heavy that it took a lot of oxen to carry all this. Besides that, Sultan Muhammad Fateh assembled an army of 100,000 and got the Ottoman navy ready to block the sea route to Constantinople. After that, Sultan Muhammad Fateh took his army to Constantinople and laid siege to it. He attacked the city walls with cannons, but those walls were so strong that they wouldn't break. For 6 days straight, cannon attacks kept pounding the walls, but they just wouldn't fall. Just as the walls got a bit damaged, but the Romans quickly repaired them. Sultan Muhammad Fateh sent some soldiers too, but the Romans badly defeated them. Days passed in the siege, and the Sultan was worried that troops from Europe might come to help Constantinople, making things even more dangerous. And finally, the fear came true. Sultan Muhammad Fateh got news that some ships were coming from Europe towards them. He sent his own ships to fight them, but the Sultan's ships failed to stop them. European ships reached Constantinople, which was another big win for the Romans. Meanwhile, Sultan Mehmed Fatih started digging tunnels under the walls of Constantinople, but the Romans found out and set those tunnels on fire. Seeing all this, Sultan Mehmed Fatih started losing hope because one plan after another was failing, and it looked like they were going to lose the war. But then a brilliant idea struck the Sultan's mind. What if he moved his ships to the seaside of Constantinople? This could change everything for Constantinople. Half of the troops from the front side were going to move to defend the seaside, which would reduce the front's forces and create a perfect chance to attack. But the biggest problem was that at that time, there was a long and strong chain stretched across the sea entrance of Constantinople, which prevented any ship from entering the city by sea. Sultan Muhammad Fateh's army tried to break this chain, but it was almost impossible to break. Because of this, the navy couldn't get into the city. Seeing this, the entire army was disheartened, says Sultan Muhammad. Fate wasn't ready to give up. He thought, if we can't take the ships across the sea, then we'll take them over land. Yep, you heard that right. Ships, but over land. That means he was going to move his ships from one side of the sea to the other by land. This way, the ships would enter the city. Sultan Muhammad Fate ordered his engineers to cut down trees and cover them with animal fat so they could be used like tires. Then the ships were placed on these greased logs. Using ropes, they pulled these ships across to the other side of the sea. The entire army moved 70 ships along the same route. As soon as the Muslims launched their ships on the other side, the Roman Empire's whole army was stunned. They had never seen anything like it before. This was a huge challenge for the Romans because now they had to defend the seawall too. Seeing this, the Romans sent their ships at night to destroy the Sultan's ships. But Sultan Muhammad Fateh had already been warned about the attack. As soon as the Romans' ships came to attack at night, the Sultan's army destroyed them with cannons. The whole game had completely turned around. Where the Sultan once saw defeat, now it was the Romans facing trouble. But this happiness didn't last long because the Sultan launched several attacks afterward, yet he couldn't enter the city. He sent many soldiers, and a lot of them became martyrs. Hope started to fade again. It had already been 2 months into the siege, and because of that, food supplies in the camps began to run low, and the soldiers, they started falling sick. And on the other side, the romance was in the same bad shape. Their treasure was all gone. There was no hope left on either side. Just then, Sultan Muhammad Fate got some bad news that some ships were coming from Europe to help Constantinople, which meant they'd get caught between 2 armies. So Sultan Muhammad Fate prepared his entire army for one last attack and said, "We have to fulfill the Prophet's prediction." Hearing this, the whole army got fired up. Sultan Muhammad Fate first sent some troops ahead, and this group did quite a lot. He suffered losses but couldn't succeed. After that, Sultan Muhammad Fatih sent even more expert soldiers, but still, they couldn't succeed. Then Sultan Muhammad Fatih himself came to the battlefield and attacked with his army, and this time, he succeeded. After that, Sultan Muhammad Fatih's army entered the city, and that's how the Muslims conquered Constantinople. Following this, Sultan Muhammad Fatih prayed at Hagia Sophia and converted it into a mosque, which is still a famous mosque in Istanbul today. Besides that, Sultan Muhammad Fatih built a mosque here to honor the grave of Hazrat Abu Ayyub Ansari. May Allah be pleased with him. After this conquest, Sultan Muhammad Fatih made Constantinople the capital of the Ottoman Empire. But a few years later, Sultan Muhammad Fatih passed away.